everybody. Welcome back to Tech Shack, another episode. We continue to unfold and unpack what's going on in the Pakistan tech startup ecosystem. And every now and then, to change the flavor, we bring Pakistanis in the United States who come from Pakistan and have done some interesting things here. Today, I'd like to welcome Murtaza Hussain. Murti, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Well, likewise, always cool to meet interesting people like yourself. As you know, with Tech Shack, we're quick and dirty. We jump right in. We talk about what's going on with you, what's going on with your latest initiatives. So please dive in. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what you're doing.
So I grew up in Karachi. I was there till I was 16. Started a company actually back in 2000 I think 99, 2000 in Karachi. I was only 13 years old, and me and my friends had taken a web design course, and we just went around like Karachi building websites for like all the local brands. So we did like websites for like Tapal Tea and Nike and some other Pakola. I think we did a Pakola website.
Awesome.
Let's see. Then I came to the US for college, dropped out, raised some venture funding, and moved to San Francisco. And basically, I've been doing back-to-back startups since then. So I've never really had a real job before. I've just been doing startups my whole life. I'm 36 now. Started when I was 13, and this is all I've done.
Well, that's not a bad thing, and it's probably going to be somewhat inspiring for people. I think what I find really intriguing is, you know, how you kind of went anti our culture, which is you started very young and then you dropped out of college, but then success is there, right? So I think that's a great learning lesson for folks, that there isn't always a linear path, right? You can do things non-traditionally.
Oh, you should have seen the parents' reaction so it wasn't just me, my brother and I have been doing our startups together.
Right.
We were both at the same college at Williams in the US, and we were both on full scholarships, and we both dropped out at the same time to do it. And we're the only kids in the family, so you can imagine the reaction.
that probably didn't go down well. Hey, all's well that ends well, right? That's the good part, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, okay, so that journey now, that's interesting. So going from dropping out of school, raising some money, what was the first concept? What did you guys do?
We kind of built an event-based social network back when Facebook was like 1 year old. They had only 1 million users. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to build, we were also in college, and we were building a social network for college students similar to Facebook.
Right.
And it got viral through some growth hacks we did. And one morning, a VC called us up out of the blue, cold called us. They found our phone number from the domain registry, and literally because they saw we were going viral, and they're like, "Hey, you want some money?" We're like, "Sure." They're like, "But you have to drop out of college." We're like, "Sure." So the first company was it was called Zuka. Turned into a social networking site. Got really popular in Turkey and outside the US. Sold it. Then started a company called Peanut Labs, which was also in the gaming space, social gaming space. Grew that, sold it in 2011. That was my first real exit, life-changing exit, and then got right back into it. Started a company that went through 1 million pivots and eventually ended up as a company called Streamlabs, which built tools for live streamers, again, mostly around gaming. So people who live stream on Twitch, YouTube. And so a good 60-70% of the ecosystem there still uses Streamlabs products. So sold that in 2019 to a company called Logitech. Stayed on. I didn't want to do another startup. I was like, this is enough. I've had it. So I moved down to Southern California just to, surf more and just chill and have a relaxing life, but somehow got dragged into doing yet one more.
Yeah, so cool. And you and I talked a little bit about the inspiration behind the latest, which is Mora. Mm-hmm. And tell us more. You know, I know that this is more of a startup around a health journey, right?
Yeah, so my mom was visiting me, and I think this is a story a lot of Pakistanis will relate to. So my mom is diabetic, type 2 diabetic, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, overweight, all the usual things we all have. Um, and so last year she was visiting me, and I was like, "Mom, I can fix you." And she's like, "No." She's taking like 6, 7 pills a day. She's been on these pills for like 10, 20 years. Um, and so I put her on like a raw vegan diet for about 2 months, and everything fixed. Like I'm serious. Like it was like magic. So she
Yeah, that's
stopped all her meds. Her blood pressure came back down to normal levels. Her glucose, which was very high, even with the meds, came down to pre-diabetic levels. Um, and she just like it was like now she lost some weight, of course, but she didn't lose like a ton of weight. So it wasn't like she went from being overweight to just not like normal. Like she was still overweight, but the blood cleaned up very quickly.
got
and
it.
and so like I knew this stuff works. Like I have been researching this for the last 10, 12 years. I've read a lot of the books on this topic, but I never knew it worked this quickly. and
Yeah,
um and then I was like, you gotta productize this. And so I kind of dragged myself out of retirement and said, okay, let's go to it's less of a startup in my mind and more of a mission focused company.
got it.
I where I'm really going to try and do this for the long term. I'm not going to sell this. Just the goal is, how many lives can we save?
Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Well, I guess like you said, you got the commercial piece out of the way, and now it's, hey, what can I do to make things better? So that's kind of neat. This leads me to my next question around, a lot of people are always looking for inspiration, and given your rooting and coming out of Pakistan, what would you recommend for people who are looking to go down this path, right? What are some things that you would recommend people do that maybe you didn't do initially?
I think understand that the journey involves 90% suffering and 10% like success at the end.
Yeah.
And when you're going through that 90% of suffering, and I certainly went through it, and everyone I know who's been an entrepreneur goes through it, just like having the motivation not to give up and to keep going, because that's really where the battle is won or lost, because most people give up. And I get it, it's hard, like especially if you're like a developer and you can go get a nice high paying job somewhere. You're like, why am I suffering through this? And I think that's real, like not losing enthusiasm and like actually willing and showing up and doing the work every day for years on years without any sign of success. um, I think that's where you win the game. At the end, when you get these crazy valuations and you sell companies and people, celebrate you and whatever, fine. But like, and what's interesting is I found that I've been through this multiple times. So I've built and sold a couple. That suffering part never really changes. Like I'm going through that suffering part right now. And like I'm on my fourth company, man, and I'm like, this shit never gets any easier.
No
Because
doubt.
that process of finding product market fit just never gets any easier. It's the same. In fact, it gets harder because now you're kind of spoiled, and we go soft and we go. So
No, that's great.
that is
That's
the way.
great. That's great insight. And I think end of the day, it is about the persistence and belief in yourself. And yeah, I guess some people have a different threshold for that. So I can fully understand and appreciate that.
It's not too different from if you were, let's say, an athlete, okay? And the pain and suffering you have to put your body through to compete at that level. This is very similar. It's a different type of pain and suffering, but it is pain and suffering.
Well, that's good insight, and I think it's good. People need to be realistic about that, right? So I guess one of the things that I walk away with is you really need to know yourself well enough to know that you can run the race, right? So why try something if you know you're not going to be able to finish the race?
Mm-hmm.
So good insight. Well, as you know, Murthy, we keep these things pretty short and sweet. First of all, I really want to thank you for coming on. It's great. It's another level of dimensionality we need within the show. As you know, we're really trying to help people in Pakistan get motivated to do better things. And we highlight a lot of Pakistani companies along those lines. So we do have our challenges as a nation. And so it's always good to see positive come through. So thank you again very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Farooq.
You're welcome. And to our audience, as you can see, trying to bring you different dimensions and layers of how successful we Pakistanis can be in Pakistan and outside of Pakistan. So please continue to like, share, and subscribe. I know we've built up a pretty solid following over the last couple of years. We're on our 4th season. We crossed 120 episodes. We hope we can continue our mission. Thank you for your support. Allah Hafiz.